this is the e-yooso Z88, aka the Super Scholar by E-Element. I've had this thing sitting around for like ever. I've always liked making and customizing stuff, and I've always wanted to give this mechanical keyboard modding thing a try, so I thought this would be a decent beginning go at it. It's a keyboard that is easily available on Amazon and has been running for as low as like $35 recently, at least at the time of me making this video. I sort of got this keyboard for free, and it is what I would consider, in my very limited experience with mechanical keyboards, decent. It's your typical 75% keyboard with floating caps. The body, though, made from plastic with a silver aluminum top plate, and it's pretty sturdy and doesn't really have much flex to it. This thing comes complete with foldable legs, you know, for ergonomics, which I'm pretty sure is the Greek word for make your hands hurt more. Personally, I don't see a need for them. It's also powered by a micro USB, which holds pretty securely and can be channeled through the left and right sides of the board. Yeah, this thing does lights too, if you're into that. It has multiple different settings, and they are almost as obnoxious as they are bright. The static setting or breathe setting seem to be the most to my liking. The model that I have here came stock with Otamu blue switches, and I currently know enough to know that they are actually knockoffs, and yes, they are very clicky. And almost feel like popping bubble wrap with every single key press. And I sort of also grew to hate this over the short time with this board. Here, take a listen. Not really a big fan of these switches. I'm sure the space between the PCB and the top plate aren't really helping anything, but luckily this keyboard is hot swappable, but there is sort of a catch here. It's mainly only workable with ACO switches due to the fact that the PCB on this board only takes pretty thin pins. This kind of works out too, because it almost acts as like a hard limiter for, you know, cost. I will be hotly swapping these out for a more subjectively acoustically pleasing design. Keycaps that came stock are all pretty cheap and kind of make the board sound even crappier. The keycaps are cherry profile, and the plastic on these caps is rather thin, almost brittle, in fact. To be honest, if I tried hard enough, I think I could probably crack these with my thumb and index finger. I'll give them one thing though, they are shine through. That they do pretty well. But the typefaces are and they bore me. So here's the plan. I'm gonna tape mod the PCB, fill the body with something to dampen the sound, and try to make some like a sound dampener for the PCB too. And then I'll do some aesthetics to fit the theme I'm going for. And this will be my very first time doing any of this. My main goal here was to keep the price range for this mod around 40 to 60 bucks. So basically what I would have spent on the board anyway. First, I searched through Amazon and, looking for some keycaps, and I found these Game Boy style keycaps that just seemed to call to me. Now, originally I found these things for like 20 bucks, then they disappeared, and then they reappeared for 35. Bankruptcy, I bought them. I'm well aware that people spend a lot more on keycaps, but, Though not shine through, these caps are significantly thicker and do feel like a lot better quality than the originals. So I guess I'll get some new switches too while I'm on here. I settled on the Echo Silvers because any non-gaming oriented switch would be a sin on this keyboard, I guess. I don't know. I researched a lot of different switches and linear seemed to be a type I liked, and I've heard that these come pretty smooth out of the box. And I kind of wanted to save the whole lubing thing for when I get a bit more acclimated to the hobby. So I got 2 boxes because this keyboard has 81 keys and these things come in sets of 45. So this cost me around $38. I'm already over the budget I set, so I guess I'm a failure, but the OCD is just too strong. This thing's easy enough to open. Remove the caps, remove the switches. I did have an issue taking the switches out. They sort of like melted or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way the guy had this thing stored or what, but like every time I would grab the tab on the switch, it would just be like mushy plastic. I've seen this happen a lot with other things that are plastic that I kind of left in my garage for like a year. So I think it's just the Florida heat that got to it, not necessarily some kind of electrical thing. So I had to dive deep into my skills as a critical thinker and make use of my ability to problem solve and come up with an efficient and safe way to remove these switches. I just pried them out with a screwdriver. Oh god, I hate it. Ugh. But at least now I can finally get to those stabilizers and actually remove the top plate from the PCB. So after that's all said and done, we'll start with the easy part, the tape mod. Just some blue painter's tape in 3 layers, working against the grain with each layer. Well, that's done. So now I'll start on the PCB sound dampener. From the top plate to the PCB, I measured around 4mm, so I'm gonna do like 2 layers of this self-adhesive craft foam on top of each other. Originally, I scanned the top plate and made this insertable sound dampener that came out absolutely perfect. But the only thing is, it just never lined up with the switch inserts, no matter how many times I reprinted this thing. For some reason, it just won't line up. So I tossed that and decided to cut adhesive craft foam into 2mm strips and try to create like a grid directly sticking it to the top plate. I've seen people do this with weather stripping. I thought I'd give it a try. So now I'm going to give this bottom part a paint job. I know they sell this keyboard in several different colors, but unfortunately gray is not one of them. Not to mention that costs money, so I'm going to paint it. So I'm just going to scuff the body of the keyboard up a little bit using a Brillo pad. Now you could easily use sandpaper to scuff it up and remove the finish, this way it's easier to paint, but I just like using a Brillo pad because I feel like it just keeps the native texture of whatever you're painting a little bit better. So I'm going to dive into my paint reserves and choose a color that best matches these keys. Actually, wow, that's not bad. I hit this thing with about 4 coats of gray, slowly building up to thicker coats, and I did follow it up with a coat of matte clear. After it fully dried, I gave it another wipe down with a Brillo pad to smoothen it out a bit and let it cure for about 24 hours. So I can peel this painter's tape off and, well, that's not what I wanted. I'll be right back. After it dried for a bit, I chiseled out the grip pad areas on the bottom of the board so the stickers would adhere directly to the plastic rather than the paint, and I wouldn't really have to worry about it peeling off the paint. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the paint job. So I'm going to set that aside and let that paint cure for a little while longer. I actually decided to mod the stabs and lube the stabilizers. Originally I was not going to do this, but decided to do it while I had the board apart. For this I just snipped the stabilizers so they're flat and then used some old dielectric grease I had to lube the stabilizers. So I noticed something, it's weird, but the stabilizers are really sturdy now because they're kind of wedged between the foam. I think I might put some more foam here so this base bar doesn't wobble. I thought I would have to band-aid mod them, but I don't think I do. It's finally time to put the thing back together. So I decided to use polyfoam in the board because, well, nothing else really fit in there. And something is better than nothing, right? So now we're going to put the PCB back on the top plate. Let's just screw in this USB thingy, and we'll put the PCB in, and ooh, squishy. Looks like it's going to be a pretty tight fit. I'm going to put that top plate back on there. Let's put in those screws, and we'll be done-ish. So now we finally get to put in those switches. So we'll just follow that up with a few keycaps, and almost there. Yeah, you might notice something's missing. The right shift key, it's actually a 1.5U keycap, which is a weird size. The keycap set did come with 1.5 unit keys, but none of them are shift. It did come with this level up key, which it's just slightly too small for my liking, so I came this far. I may as well finish this. Luckily, these are XDA profiles, so I sort of have my pick to customize any of these that I like without ruining the profile of the board. So with some scrap vinyl and a little bit of help from my Cricut, I came up with a temporary fix for the shift key. Not too bad. And some needless flair for the sides of the board. So it's looking alright. Let's see how it sounds. So there is my first keyboard mod. I am in no way claiming that I know what I'm doing, but personally, I like how it turned out, and I'm already thinking of improvements for the next one. If you give a crap, leave a like, or if not, then you can do the other thing. It's your choice. If you have any suggestions for any improvements, let me know. And as always, thank you to whoever is watching this.